I'm
Welcome,
so
everybody, to the Monday Night Call. And it's my pleasure once again to be hosting. And we have got terrific people like continually joining these calls and sharing their amazing knowledge. And tonight is no different. Like a bit of background, like Dave Morrison, who's our caller tonight, our speaker tonight. Oh, we've been in the Tony Robbins community together for quite a while, and it felt like we should have crossed paths a lot earlier. And I followed him on social media, and I watched transformations, and I watched him transforming lives and being like this super successful guy and this fit dad. And I could always see that he was striving to be the best man he could be, the best father, and like just the best human being he could be. And I really admired that about him. And because for me as a father, I feel exactly the same way, and that's a massive driver for me. So like they say, like attracts like, and I guess, hey, we've come full circle. He's on the call tonight. So we have spoken. Don't worry, this isn't just our first meeting. We've spoken a couple of times. We've followed each other on social. We've supported each other, and I'm just so pleased. And I hope tonight, guys, you've got your husbands close, or you can show them the recording, because Dave's got this amazing mission, and I can't wait for him to share more about it. And he's just going to blow your mind. I'm sure of it. So, hey, Dave, take over, mate. I'm going to go on mute. I got my pen, and I'm going to be taking heaps of notes. So, take it away, mate.
Thank you, and this is so epic to be on here tonight. And like as Joel shared, like we've known each other for a while, like in various circles. I'm gonna not look at the screen and look at the camera because I got like a fancy light, so I looked really good. And yeah, just being invited to these things is a bit full circle. Like you get to a point where you get so clear and have so much like direction about what you're doing that it does bring people and opportunities into your life that then you're on a webinar talking to something that you become really, really passionate about. But I suppose what I might do to best serve everyone on this call is I'm going to give you some backstory because everyone loves a hero's journey. And I know Joel, shared a really good post there in the group when I was jumping on the call. Long story short, 6 years ago, outside, basically living a double life, looking like everything was going great on the outside. I have a very beautiful wife that I love very much, and I had 2 kids at the time. But, inside, like I was hurting in a major way. I had a very successful corporate career that, paid me really, really well. However, I was, heavily sedating myself in lots of different ways, with substances and different things. And I was like in this inner turmoil all the time of knowing what I could be doing with my life or should be doing with my life, but just sabotaging myself all the time in this cycle. And, it must have been really painful for a lot of people to watch because so many of my friends now seeing where I've transformed to, they were like, watching from afar or maybe trying to help me in different types of ways. And I just wasn't quite getting the results. So, I transformed my health first because my wife sat me down on the couch and said I wasn't the man she married 6 years ago, which was a very tough conversation to have for someone that certainly got married for the long haul. And I thought I had quite high standards, but I was certainly living double standards quite often. So, like I think for most men that make change, like it unfortunately comes in the way of a sledgehammer, not through our own awareness, which is something that I help a lot of men with right now, which is activating a level of conscious awareness within them that allows them to experience all that they can have in life and not having to have the tough conversation that I got presented with that time ago, 6 years. But it became a must for me to change because the thing that I valued most was basically an opportunity being pulled away from me. So I got healthy, which is amazing. And I'm sure a lot of you advocate a really healthy lifestyle as well. However, I was still sabotaging myself. Painful. It was painful. And I still wanted things to happen. And as a man, I was really wanting to produce results, be a provider at home and doing all those kind of things. But that in itself as being as a father and as a man, in today, in this modern world, I was finding, and just tell me if I can swear or not, you can put your hand up or put it down, confusing as fuck, right? Felt like, looking back now, it was like I was running off a playbook, like the wrong playbook for today, because growing up with your parents from their age group, just kind of like running on what they did. And then my parents got divorced, so they weren't really going that great. But they, everything they did allowed me to be who I am today. And I got to the point where I realised that, for me to make change and really to be the dad that I wanted to be and really live into these things, like I need to go to work on myself at a much deeper level. And that's where, things really started to go to the next step for me, because I was frustrated at work. I'd built a side hustle business that, I'd got to a 6-figure income, or my wife and I did, that allowed me to step out of corporate, which I'm extremely grateful for, because, as a dad with kids, like you got mortgage and all that other kind of stuff going on, and massive, that was a huge step for me, because I had a lot of fear about taking that step, right? I actually walked into work, not planned, and just resigned on the spot and left. Like, if you ever followed Tony Robbins, it was like burning the boats type stuff, like I'm out. And I stepped out, and that opened up a whole new can of worms again. Like, as a dad, I was still struggling to, make the progress that I wanted to make. And, I'd got the dream. Like, I'd left corporate, had this business. However, I didn't realise you needed a different mindset to run a business to being like a payee, and that brought up a whole heap of other kind of stuff. And what came out of it is, like, when I started to do a lot more work with Joel and I've done a lot of the same kind of personal development. I got diagnosed with some PTSD for some really big trauma that happened to me when I was younger that I'd conveniently blocked out of my life, and it really came up because I had my own kids, and that one day just triggered it all. So all these things have really led me to being, on this call right now. And I arrived at this point last year where I had a moment where I was really discovered my purpose. So if anyone's ever been looking for their purpose, it can take a while. I'm 45, nearly 46. And it was more even like a less of a purpose, but an acceptance. Like, I'd finally accepted that I was here to do something bigger. And that thing for me that really activated where I am today with the Optimised Dad, and what I really want to share more of around that message with you tonight, was I accepted the fact that I wanted to see more love and compassion in the world. And I wanted to see a global rise in the levels of love and compassion in the world. And I was like, right, well, I've shied away from the fact that I believe I'm a really fucking good father, and I love my kids and my wife, and it's really important to me to have that in my life. And I've shied away from being a light or a beacon or whatever you want to call it for other people, because I thought that was being egotistical. And then I just had that moment that day when I got clear on that purpose. I was like, right, well, if that's going to happen, I've got to do it one dad at a time, one family at a time, one community at a time, one city at a time, one country at a time. It's the only way I'm going to make that change. And that really links into like one of the core messages around that I share with so many dads, that I speak to a lot of dads that are stuck, that don't have, they're not getting the results they want to get in life. And you have this depolarization of the marriage and the relationship, and that starts to play out in all the wrong kind of ways. Like, people look for validation in all the wrong different types of directions. And the downside of it is that, we start to be a warning on an example for our kids. But I got really clear that the core thing was around having this directionality. So when you have this, for me, like, creating this level of directionality has made major shifts in my life. And, the reason why it is, that's one of the core essence of pure, having masculinity. Like, being a masculine man for me is having that directionality, because I know I've activated that. I've now started to build a movement around this thing, the Optimised Dad, that's becoming bigger than me. And it's getting validated, because the bigger my voice is getting, the more I'm putting myself out there and not listening to my fears, the more people are being attracted to me that have got challenges in this area. Like, I'm speaking to what their challenges are, and they're like, yep, this is me. This is where life is right now. And, I want it to change, but they're all so stuck to change, or they're in a place where, they don't know how to follow their instincts anymore. Like, the amount of people that you speak to, they're so indecisive because they keep running this story around why they can't take action. Whereas the very thing that they need to be doing is taking that action, because that's going to really allow them to, step into the man that they can be and the man they want to be. I haven't got my comments on, so just in case, Joel, if you need me or whatever, you just put your hand up or wave at me because I'll just keep talking. Yeah, thumbs up. So I suppose part one, I just want to share with you, particularly if there's dads on the call tonight, this component which I see, has the greatest impact in relationships. And I've seen marriages transform particularly, and then businesses, take off and careers take off, is this whole thing around having directionality and just understanding what that means. And like so many people, so many dads I talk to have got to a certain point with who they are, with a certain set of values and beliefs, but we all know what it's like when we get married and we have kids. We're on an autopilot for the first 8 years. Like, it happens so fast. Like, anyone can relate to that. I've got 3 kids under 8, and certainly like my, pattern interrupt was about 6 years ago. But there's still countless pattern interrupts because, I'm always growing and my wife's always one step ahead of me. So this whole thing of I was running on autopilot because I just assumed that was the way that things would work out because of, that was what my peer group was doing. And look, no one's really having the tough conversations, particularly guys, because we're just not conditioned to do it, and our peer group's not conditioned to do it. I'll be honest with you, to a certain point, some of my friends don't really like having conversations with me anymore because I'm going to ask them really difficult questions that they're probably avoiding because I really want them to see, I want to see them grow beyond where they are. Because this is it's bigger than us, because I believe we have an opportunity because there's so much levels of greater awareness now for men and within marriages that you can start to create massive generational change. And for me, that's, generational change across all areas. Whether it be health, being well-being, about the type of lives that we can have, and how we actually apply our mind to things that we want to create in our life. I know for me, like, one of the greatest gifts, one of the greatest blessings I get to see is like when you get to see your kids coaching each other in a really positive way and kind of like do a little bit of a fist pump, going, yeah, awesome. But having those standards in life is so important. So, like, by standards, I mean having standards. Like, so many people I talk to won't have any standards. They can't tell me what they are in terms of their relationship, their business, their health, or whatever it is. So for example, my wife and I have standards around our relationship, and it was a 10-year wedding anniversary the other day, and we're committed to always reinvigorating that relationship. And we got remarried, and we got remarried with our family around us and some close friends. We also saw it as an opportunity to be an example to our kids about what a loving relationship is about, in terms of we want to be an example of recommitting in front of those kids and showing them how much we do care about each other and love each other. Because that's the example I want them to look out into the world and go, right, well, this is what a conscious man looks like. And a fun one. I'm still a daggy dad. They still brush me. But being able to understand your emotions as a man and how that connects and relates to your kids be one of the most significant things that you can learn. So, who gets triggered all the time? Triggered, pissed off. I found this whole thing around being able to really connect with my kids in a way that build a strong relationship with them was when I got the distinction or the awareness around, right, well, as a dad, as a man, I got to be the fucking oak tree. I got to be solid. I got to be able to withstand the storm of 4 women in my house, because they're working their way out through life. Their frontal lobe's not even developed. And when I understood that, when they would get upset or things are going wrong in the house, that was just triggering my greatest fears that I wasn't being the best parent I was going to be. But when I started to make the shift of, okay, well, it's not about A, it's not about me, B, what do they need most to help them learn and grow through here? What example can I give to them? And, what do they need? And they always need your time and they need your love. And particularly as a dad, we want to solve stuff, right? So we want to solve the thing and we want to move on, because that's just the way we are. Our brain hasn't had an upgrade for 2 million years. It's still the same piece of hardware, which is crazy, right? And women will. I've no longer try and solve my wife's problems. I just listen to them, and we find that really beneficial. And there are times I'll give her some advice where maybe she's quite fiery, and I need to give her some counsel about the best way to deal with the situation, and it usually works out for the best because I'm a bit more diplomatic. But with our kids, the biggest transformation for me is being able to understand what they need from me, and that where they are right now is just not where they're going to end up because they can't deal with the situation or they're reacting something in a particular type of way. 9 times out of 10, they can't process their emotions. And so you can either project, I was either like, right, I can either project back my own emotions, which just means that I'm freaking out and I can't handle it, or I can just be like, I just say to myself, right, I'm just going to be Iceman, like, cool as a cucumber. Like, how can I help? And it's been amazing because then they know, now they come to me more and talk to me more because when they're feeling their most vulnerable, they get greeted with like love and connection. Not me freaking out because I don't know what the hell's going on or losing my shit like I used to all the time in the morning, which is never great. Because what that then does to you, particularly like if you're being a dad, is that would then get me in an emotional state where I'd feel low level guilt, shame, anger, all that kind of stuff. And that then robs you of production and results. So if you're not present with your kids, I can guarantee if I sat down and talked to you, you would not be giving 100% in your day. And you'll not be getting 100% production and results in your day. Because when you give 100% and when you're like aligned with what you're doing and hey, look, it may not be your sole purpose. Like maybe it's a stepping stone to the next thing that you're going to have in your life. Like before I left corporate, like I wasn't hating what I was doing. I was already like bringing a level of like, right, I'm just bringing the best of me today because I always had this thing, like I just didn't know whose life I could change today by just being me. And that could be just because I smile at people. I was a smiley person. I'd come back from personal development programs and hug people a lot, which would weak people out. And I have to go, okay, personal development brain, corporate brain, switch off. So I always ended up HR again. And giving that 100% meant that when I came home, I was never distracted because I'd set my standards. I'd followed through with what I said I was going to do. So that allowed me a level of peace and presence with my kids. Just a side note, if you do ever struggle with that separation, I used to use a thing called a problem tree. Basically what a problem tree was a pod plant at our front door, and I would walk in there, I'd just like go, okay, cool, that project's not working, that person's really pissing me off, that budget's not done yet, and I just put the problems on the tree because when I used to walk into that door, those kids would come running up, and they still come running to me, which is awesome. I've got a 10-month-old, so I've got another 8 years of that at least. And I was like, right, those days that they come running up to me so excited, what do I want them to be greeted by? Do I want them to be greeted by just basically a grumpy dad? Because they are creating their ego and their self-esteem off, their most important people, like we're their life, right? Or am I going to set a standard for myself about how I walk into that house because I want them to see a reflection of how I see them. And that means that they're going to do more of it too, which is kind of cool because who doesn't like their kids running up their corridor shouting daddy, daddy, daddy? It's pretty cool. So that connection between, giving 100%, having directionality and taking action, and being more understanding of like, hey, what is my role in terms of like being at home, and look, short-circuiting 2 million years of brain evolution, really, because it's very difficult for guys not to solve stuff. We just want to solve it and we want to move on to the next thing. And then we get frustrated because, people will fluff around on certain stuff and it'll just like do our head in. It's like, right, why can't we just solve this and move on? The reality is, though, if you want to have that growth in all areas of your life, and I've found through, being able to lead and influence more people is, you've got to shift it from it's not about you and your ego. It's about okay, well, how can I best serve this person in this situation? And being able to slow yourself down and not go, right, I'm jumping into the next thing and jumping into the next thing, which is, once again, like, is hardwired into, men's brains. And when you start to do that, and look, when you combine that with being more structure and more direction to your life, and having starting to create results, obviously building belief and all those kind of things are incredible. Mastering the fact that you'll have empowering days and not so empowering days, and seeing the gifts in all of those, then you start to, when you come to your home life and seeing what impact you can have, you really start to see some huge transformation. Then, like, on a marriage relationship perspective, like, my wife was just dying for me to step forward, like, just fucking aching for it, right? Because she could see, I shared this with the dad today, right? So, like, and ladies, you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, but this is my take on it, is, so what happens is when most men are not achieving the things they want to achieve in life, and they're getting triggered as fuck by everything, they'll start to project out that on everyone else around them. They'll start to sedate themselves in the wrong way, whatever your vice is, drugs, alcohol, gambling, shopping, whatever. And then we try and put people in boxes, right? We want to compartmentalise them, like it could be our wives, because they have this knack of triggering us, right? But the reason why we're getting triggered by it is because they're bringing up something that, we're not holding ourselves to the right standard. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, the day that, that we got married and we said, would you marry me? It's because they saw us who we truly were, like our infinite potential, the true man that we were. And you were seeing that person, just like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to marry this dude. And they don't forget that. And they want to, like, my wife holds me to that higher standard. Like, I know when I'm dropping the ball, because she'll be triggering me about something. I'll be like, okay, where am I dropping the ball? Where am I not doing? And it's not that she's like nagging me or anything like that, because we don't nag each other, but she just knows how good I can be. And she's certainly seeing more results because she's been playing a long game and supporting me along the journey. She's a very patient woman. But, her level of patience and her level of love and what she provides to our children is only, like, we're just a reflection of each other. So, you only attract what you are in life. And I attracted her into my life at a particular point in time whilst we were living in London and quite drunk. But we went through a very long courting process that was able to vet that out. So, if you just go back to that whole thing around, like, what creating that connection in a relation is, so, like, the things I've seen that have been really ignited, like, my desire and my passion to keep doing the things that I'm doing and being, like, I want to, like, really impact a lot of lives, and not just like men, because I know it connects to marriages, it connects to children, it connects to careers and legacy and everything. Is once you really start to own yourself as a man, a couple of things are going to open up. Like, you're going to see your wife move out of, like, being complete masculine, just running the house and being in mum mode, because she's going to start to feel more relaxed and safe in your presence, and that starts to ignite more connection between the two of you. And I've seen that firsthand happen, like, over the course of this week. Like, a marriage got back together because, this dad was able to own stuff more. And that's what she was dying for. Like, I'm not going to name his name so I can share this, but, like, when this guy went to pay for the program I did, like, he didn't even have any of the bank cards. Like, she was looking after all the money. And I was just like, oh, like, I didn't say it to him at the time, but I was like, okay, cool. All right, well, how can we, solve this problem? And I shared with him afterwards as he started to grow more, and lo and behold, like, he started to have more, involvement in these areas of the home, and some other things got resolved because they got tools. The relationship came back together. It's just, like, incredible, and it's all because he started to make these shifts around his mindset, and the stories he was running were so not in line with who he could be. So we needed to change that, and he got it that, like, one sunny day doesn't make a summer. And turning up one day because you did a course with David Morrison doesn't mean everything's got to change at home. Like, you've got to build consistency, because consistency builds trust. And, trust is a key anchor for safety. Like, you feel safe in someone because they've got a level of predictability in a really positive way. So that directionality, purpose, connecting that with a level of like action and predictability, you start to have some it's like the tumblers of a lock starting to fall like into place. Like if you can imagine opening a bike lock or something like that, and it's just like tick, 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 and those things just like connect. So I started doing this work one-on-one last year because people started coming to me because they saw more transformation, because I had an incredible health transformation and did some other things. And as I got more vulnerable and more open about the stuff that I've been going through in life, that just more people started showing up. And then, I went on to then create the Optimised Dad because I wanted to create a movement, because everyone likes to be a part of a movement. And I got to put something on the t-shirts and the caps. But the whole thing around being optimized was around, I came from a corporate background, and the word optimized, I don't know whether anyone works in corporate careers still, but oh my gosh, they use optimize a lot. Got to optimize this, got to optimize that. And I used to work in a lot of big projects and stuff like that. And I was like, Optimised Dad. I was like, yeah, because that, I actually Googled it, and it means to make the best use of. And I was like, right, well, I believe that every man would like to arrive at their deathbed. I know it sounds morbid, but I don't believe in reincarnation yet, right? So I might get there one day. And they want to make the best use of who they are. And I was like, cool, okay, well, how do we then help people fully optimize their life? Like being optimized, obviously, in health is super important because it's just the foundation. It allows you to see so much and give so much more, builds discipline. But then, optimizing your relationship with yourself, being an optimized dad with your kids. And, you basically start to then learn, all these skills are universal. Like once you start to learn the skills to unlock, one particular area, you can take it across everything. It's certainly what I've seen. Like once you start to see a marriage transform, those interpersonal skills that person learns then allow them to, do the same thing in their career or with their kids, or just with being more of a leader in their community. So those things have been like probably the most powerful things that I've seen over the last 12 months. And now, my goals, as I've seen more and more people grow, like that just asks you and calls you out to play a bigger game. Like it certainly has for me. Like you get bolder, you have bigger conversations with people. Like I still find myself on the phone with people going, I can't believe I'm going to go here, but I'm going to ask this question. And, not surprisingly, that person's been waiting for someone to ask them that question, because they haven't felt like they've been in a space where they could share, like the power of our most intimate relationships is they bring up our two greatest fears, which is we're not enough and we won't be loved. However, like on the flip side, they can be the thing that amplifies us at such a significant, massive level. And so it's how do we shift as many people back to being in a place where they've got the skills to create, the best version of them, to then create, the best possible marriage they have. Because I firmly believe that creating that powerful unit between like husband and wife just like benefits like in the world, man. Like it helps kids grow up really well, helps them have awesome like love, passion, go do awesome cool stuff together. Because I don't know about you guys, but like I look at my parents, or my dad's remarried, and my mum's had a couple of cracks but hasn't worked out afterwards. And, their relationship, they have got like, they're just in a job. And, I've got friends that their parents, like once the kids left home, the parents are just like, who the fuck are you? Like, and on top of that, they might even already be financially okay. And they're like, well, there's actually no reason to stay together. We're just staying together for the kids, because they've just been inconvenient housemates for 25 years because they haven't had the awareness. And then what happens for, in the instance of like, both men and women, if they're not getting their needs met in that relationship, they're just going to go somewhere else. Like who knows someone that's always going away on boys' weekends or poker nights or doing this or the other, because they're not getting the connection at home. They're not making it happen. So they're looking it for somewhere else. And all that does is just push everyone further and further away. But, you stay in the marriage because you said you would. And then, hey, you get to 65 and it's just like, I'm out of here, or 55 or whatever it may be. So, Joel, like I know I can just keep talking, my man. I don't often like run with a lot of structure. I just sort of kind of go with the flow with what I feel like needs to be shared. So, these are the current trends, I suppose, that I'm seeing in relationships, and where the people that I'm speaking to is that there hasn't been this. There's been we're in our mode of doing what we've is our our innate programming naturally, which is like, right, we've got these kids, we've got to look after them, and then we default to our mum and dad roles, and we're like working hard to provide, and we create connection through Christmas, going away for a holiday, and something, and one or two other things. But then apart from that, there's just this big gap where we're just in our role, and they arrive, like most people I speak to, at a point where they haven't quite imploded yet, but they're getting really, really close, and they don't want that to happen, and they want to work out a way to reconnect, because they don't want to go on the path of their parents. They don't want to have that kind of relationship later on. And so, I find that you need to just interrupt people's patterns. So we do it with our kids, like when they're having a bit of a meltdown, you might, I don't know, try and do a different game with them, or chuck them in the pool. Done that before. And that interrupts their pattern. It's the same with like, a husband and wife. It's like, they're arriving at points where they need to interrupt their pattern. And some of them are, then getting the level of awareness that need to go, right, actually, it's not about blaming anyone. It's about being open to change and open the process. It's not about justifying my actions anymore. It's about like, okay, well, how can I bring a better version of myself to be the example, not the warning? So too often I'll see people that want to make change, but they'll be like, oh, well, the other person's got to go first, or they've got to change. And we all know, like, when we blame and push things out externally, we're just giving away our power to the situation versus being in our power, which is like, right, well, one thing I like to talk to people about is taking radical responsibility for everything. In your life, like before a dad wants to make change, and like, cool, like, you got to draw the line on everything, accept it. If it's a shit sandwich, you've got to eat it. Tough luck, because it's going to give you all the gifts and the lessons that you need to actually start to show up as the man that you are, that you've been, pushed into the cells because you've become like a discount version of who you are. And then once they accept that, and they really, really accept it, then it becomes about, okay, right now I'm going to focus on building the best version of me. Like, what does that person look like? Like, most people don't even know what their values and characteristics are they want to hold themselves to each day. When you get people clear on that, they've got something to actually aim and work towards, and they've got something to hold themselves accountable to. So, getting people clear on who they are, but that's also then connected to, well, what's your ultimate vision for your life and your relationship vision and vision for your kids. Like, just as a side note, like a really powerful exercise I went through a while ago was like, I wrote a letter to me from my kids when I died. And this is about like it's stick versus carrot motivation. So like, I really wanted to put myself in some pain to make some stuff happen. So I wrote a letter to them, from them to me, about all the things that, what kind of father I was to them, and how all the things that, like, I know I need to be doing, and what difference it made to them, and how it, made them feel, really safe or inspired, or they loved seeing how the way that, my wife Lisa and I connected with each other and loved spending time with each other and had fun. So that gave them something really positive, focus on how we were firm but fair, and we just, we had fun, and the things that we achieved and did in our life, and it got me really grounded into the importance of what I can do in my life, and how doing these things is bigger than me. And it really got me to make massive shifts and make a massive transformation in my life, because I could see that, I could either be walking, and look, I've got daughters, so I do have a slight daughter filter, but it applies to boys as well, like if you've got sons. But I was like, right, I can either be walking my daughter down the aisle, like looking at the man I never was, or walking them down the aisle and seeing a reflection of the man that the example that I was for them. Because they're either going to find what they want, from you or from someone else, but in the wrong kind of way. have you ever seen people that, like, you see people together as a couple, it's like, why are those people together? Like, it's really weird. And, they're just looking for an unmet need. So, really getting clear on your standards, your values, your characteristics. The dad is something that, that I work really heavily and focus massively on the dads that I work with. Putting them in a group dynamic is really powerful because we all like to be the lone wolf. No one wants to share their shit because it would, activate one of our greatest fears that we really don't know what the fuck we're doing. And we don't want to do that because we want to be like, hey, look, I'm on control. I'm making stuff happen. Whereas, like, I found, like, I'm naturally very happy to share a lot of stuff about myself because I feel a lot of power in being completely open and vulnerable, because it just feels good to share that kind of stuff as opposed to I bottled it in after someone who bottled it in for so long. So, side note, like, my vices for 10 years were drugs and alcohol at a significant level, because I was so frustrated and so much pain. It was the only thing that could dull all the stuff down. So instead of then having the moment where it became a must for me to change, I saw that I needed to be more open and make changes and shift within myself. Because if I didn't, I certainly wasn't going to be able to inspire other people. I certainly wasn't going to be able to let go of a lot of the pain because I was just projecting that pain out into everyone else. And that's not like, that's not what I wanted to create. So, providing, I suppose, like, I like to see a place where I can make enough noise where I'm going to catch people early enough. They don't, like, not there's anything wrong with going through pain. Like, it provided me with my greatest amount of lessons in life. And I do want people to take that out. Like, everything that you experience in your life, like right now, has provided you lessons and gifts to allow you to, go to where you want to go in the future. So, all the things that happened to me, like, I've gone through the process of dealing with some stuff that happened to me that was, was not awesome. But I see that, like, as a gift for me now, because I know I can relate to people that have been through the same thing. I can be really open about that to people, and that can sometimes shock them. Sometimes can make them feel really safe that they can talk about, darker stuff that's going on inside of them. Because when you hold on to all that stuff and internalize it, it just bottles it up, right? Energetically, it's not a really cool thing. You want to release that. So, you're waking up feeling happier and freer, basically. So I think I just ran out of puff. Joel?
Mate, if you could see the comments, you turn them on, I don't know, man, like, but they're outstanding. That was outstanding. That spoke to me, and like really just reciprocating a bit of a share. Like, it would have been great to know you while you're doing this, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago.
I wish I knew me 10 years ago.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, guys, dads need to hear this. Share this out when it goes on YouTube. Share it out and get them in front of Dave. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah,
I'm super grateful to get on here and just look. I was really excited to come in here because I don't actually really get to talk to a lot of women. I see the byproduct of how when I bring stuff back together, there's a lot of happiness and so on. But yeah, I'm seeing some really positive comments in here, which is amazing. So that's like really beneficial for me because I'm always curious to know, what are women looking for? Are they looking for their men to do certain types of things, or they're not stepping up in certain types of areas or doing certain, I don't know, like what's the number one frustrations that you have right now? If anyone's game enough to share in the chat box.
There you go. Who's going to step up? Let Dave know. What are your frustrations from the women, the female side? Usually Liz would pipe up, but she's married to Simon and he's so awesome.
Women need to know how to get their man to listen.
I'll pipe up because
that won't stop her.
We see the other side, right? Because I see the women and we're on opposite sides of this. And I think that what women need to know is how do they get their men to even take an interest in this? How do they get their men to say, yes, I'll watch it. Yes, I'll do something. What can they do to empower their husband or what can they do to empower them to want to take that first step?
Yeah.
There's women on this call who want their husband to listen to this call, but they don't know how to go and say to their husband, hey, come and listen to this call.
Yeah. Otherwise they'll feel disempowered, or they'll feel embarrassed, or even though it all depends like on the where the relationship is in the cycle, I suppose. Like, if it can either be like not the ultimatum, but like, hey, look, I love you, I care for you, like I want us to be closer, and I know that things haven't been going great for us. I've listened to something the other day that really moved me, and I want you to listen to it. I'm not saying that you need to listen to it for any other reason than like I just want to see if it helps in any way. It could be the point though where you're at the must situation where it's a must and the change is like, you need to watch this. I don't know where we're going to go to next, but you may get something out of what this guy's just shared that brings something to the surface or allows us to have a conversation about something that we're not having. The other things are just playing it loudly on YouTube when they come home. I've had people do that. It's like, what is this guy talking about? Look, it just depends on like where the relationship is. Like if you guys are experiencing some challenges at the moment, but like you want to make some changes, then just being open about it, which is like if you come from a place of love and compassion, then that will always triumph over fear. So if you present it to someone like your husband, that they like just prep yourself. They're going to respond in a couple of different ways. One is they're going to be like, oh, okay, right, and they might eventually watch it. They could be, get upset about it because it's challenging them. They could be like, okay, right, well, I know I've got to do something and I need to have a look at it. So there's going to be a couple of different buckets it'll probably fall into, Liz. As I said, for my instance, it was like an ultimatum to me to make change. So I made the change. And you can present an ultimatum if you want. I think the thing is, it's just like if you come from a place of love and you have that conversation that you just want him to come check this out and just see what you think about it. Maybe just even ask that. It's just like, I'd love to know what you think about this. Because if he turns around and just goes, wow, that was really helpful. Awesome, let's talk more about it. Or if it's like goes completely over his head, it's like, okay, right, well, actually, Dave's probably a little bit too deep for him right now. So maybe I need to revert to something. Like I'm sharing with you stuff that if someone said this to me 6 years ago, I might have said, fuck off. Because I was a little bit funny. Like my wife's always been ahead of me. And when we both started doing personal development, I tend to do a bit more than her because she didn't need to do as much as me. And I remember when she started doing personal development, I was a bit weird about it. Like I had a bit of like that, and I saw her starting to grow. And I was like, right, I got to make the move because I wasn't going to get left behind. Because I didn't want to get left behind. Like I wanted us to grow together. So depending on where the relationship is at, and whether the woman is helpful, is more empowered to go, right, hey, Simon, you need to watch this too, champ, and just framing it in a place from love, which is like, look, someone says to me, look, I really love you, and I know things are not like where we want them to be. And I just listened to someone the other day that I think, I'd love for you to just check it out. Will you do that for me? And look, there's no negatives. There's only ever feedback, which just allows you to the next decision or the next conversation. So I know that's not like I'm not providing you the objection handling one-liner, which is like the one-line close to make your husband watch this. And look, there's always sex.
I think that, it's important from a woman's perspective too, is you never know when that time's going to be that they're going to actually take notice. And so when you approach it with an attitude of he never listens, there's no point in even showing him because why would he? If you're coming at that as a woman in that way, then you're not open to the possibility. So there's no way that he could be open to the possibility. Whereas if you go going, you know what, it's worth another shot because I love this guy.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I love this.
Yeah, look, it takes a bit of bravery, guys. Like life is about, like, you know, the quality of the life is down to the, you know, the level of bravery we have at times, you know. And there is a bit of bravery about doing this. Like you got to go first. And look, you know, and they will not, maybe not in the spot where they will get angry about stuff, but not know why they're getting angry, which is the very reason why they're getting triggered or pissed off, is because something's been brought to their awareness that they know that they haven't been acting on, which gets to the heart of, you know, a man not taking action on things that you know he should, which is like the core essence thing. So it's interesting stuff. and it never ever stops. It keeps growing and growing and going. Is there any more questions?
Guys, has anyone got a question? This is like, you know, just know that you saw Dave here first when he's like changing the world and like he's got security guards all around him. This is your opportunity to ask him a question. Like, come on.
Yeah, this would be the webinar. You'll be like, oh my gosh, we were on a webinar with this guy like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Look at him.
It's a man that knows where he's going. That's awesome. So no one.
Cool. That's
all
okay.
Right. I have a question.
Yep.
Do you have anything more to say? Because it's really a closing question. I'm going to close you down with it.
No, that's cool. Because I got to jump in 10 minutes. Just got to jump on a group coaching call.
Legendary. All right, mate. Well, if you had a billboard, and the entire world could see it, what would your message to the world be?
Stop lying and tell the truth.
Cool, mate. Guys, where can they find you, Dave? Like,
the best places to find me are like social media, like David A. Morrison is my, like, you know, my fan page or whatever. If you just Google the optimizeddad.com, there's actually this is another tool for your husbands. I've got a free 5-day program, which is like, you sign up for it. It's at the optimizeddad.com. It's called the 5-day recharge. And it's basically 5 daily videos, like 2 minutes each. You got a task in there, and it's all about getting them just to wake up a little bit. I'm pretty direct in the content because I want them to get woken up. So there's no use sort of like, you know, tiptoe. I know when people find me, they're not looking for me to hold their hand. Like I got to hit them pretty hard between the eyes. So there's just some cool stuff in there about getting them clear about directionality, you know, getting them to understand that they've got stories that are holding them back in their life and they need to bury them and get rid of them. Do a really cool exercise called bury the bullshit or burn the bullshit. I give them some really good concepts around understanding this whole thing's around about the creating that direction in your life is going to open up these other things in your relationship with your marriage. And there's some other stuff around some like basic goal setting things, just giving them this whole connection around like, you know, confused mind is going to do nothing. And so the more clarity you can provide in your life, it's going to open up a lot more other things in your life. So, and it just gets delivered through Facebook. It's like 2 minutes each day. And I do tell them, if you can't set aside 2 minutes each day to transform your life, then we've got other things to deal with. So that's probably the best way to, for people to find me and connect with me.
Amazing, mate. Look, that was just mind blowing. I'm going to watch this whole thing again. Like,
oh man, I'd be honored if you did. I will too, so I know what I talked about.
Yeah, it's great. Hey, just cut it up and make another program. But hey, it's good. Thank you so much, everyone. Like, you can take yourself off mute and thank David so much. I'm so grateful. Like, thank you.
Amazing, Dave. Thank you so much. Phenomenal.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you all. Just awesome. Thanks, Joel, for having me.